counter loop, let me first do example for the forward loop. For the forward counter loop, example number 1, n equals to 0 while n is less than 4 with the colons. Take the point of n and also add n equals to n plus 1. Your output will be 0, 1, 2, 3. It is the counter loop. We are counting the numbers, but in a forward loop. It is also called the forward counter loop. Forward loop or forward counter loop. It is actually while loop. This while loop is actually called the counter loop or the counter forward while loop. This while loop is actually the counter forward while loop. Now look at here. Initially n equals to 0, and then we have used while loop here. While n is less than 4 with the colons, press the enter button, your new line will start from here. Take the point of n, and then add one another statement, n equals to n plus 1. When you run it, you will get 0, 1, 2, 3. Now what this statement says? This statement says that n should be less than 4. But make sure initially n equals to 0, which means that n has to be started from the 0. Initially n equals to 0, and then go ahead, print all the numbers. But make sure they have to be less than 4. Shouldn't be greater than 4, must be less than 4. When you use the print function, print of n, these numbers will be printed in the output. Look, if you have n here, you have to put n. If you have a here, you have to put a here, and also a. If you have x here, you have to put x here, and x here. It is just the name of the variable. I repeat it again and again. That variable name can be any name. It can be a name, it can be a variable. It is up to you. It can be a, it can be b, it can be n, it can be any other name. It is up to you. But whatever name you have here for the variable, you have to use all the way the same name here and also then here for the print function. Now, look at here. This is the formula. This is the formula for the counter loop. N equals to n plus 1. So it counts the number. Initially n equals to 0. And then 0 plus 1. 0 plus 1 will be 1. And then 1 plus 1 will be 2. And then 2 plus 1 will be 3. So the loop will stop at 3 because n should be less than 4. 4 is not included. Should be less than 4. So it is the execution of the block of numbers multiple times. So this is the simple example of the while loop, which we call it forward counter while loop. Forward counter while loop to show the numbers in the forward pattern like 0, 1, 2, 3, not in a reverse form like 3, 2, 1 and 0. It is in the forward form. Therefore we call it counter forward while loop. Let me take again the same example, example number 1. We can also write while n is less than and equals to 3 and also put n equals to n plus 1. You will get exactly the same answer, 0, 1, 2, 3. Its initial stage is 0. It starts from 0 here, 0, and then less than 3, 1, 2, 3, less than 3 and equals to 3, equals to 3. So whether you put n is less than 4 or n is less than and equals to 3, you will get the same output. There is no difference in the output. You will get the same output here. Look, the while loop, it is called the counter forward while loop because it counts in the forward form, in the forward way. 0 and then 1 and then 2 and then 3. It is going forward. Initially, it equals to 0. 0 is the initial n value. So 0 plus 1 will be 1, and then it executes one more time where our last value was 1. So it will be 1 plus 1 equals to 2. Then another time where my last value is 2. So 2 plus 1 will be 3. So there we got the output. You have to add 1 to the previous value. This is the formula for the counter forward while loop. If you put negative here, it will be the backward loop. But since we are talking about the forward counter loop, therefore we're going to use n plus 1, n plus 1. But make sure don't be confused here in this part. Whether you put n is less than 4 or n is less than or equals to 3. It is absolutely one thing. You will get the same output. There won't be any difference in the output. The output will be the same. Let me take again the same example, example number 1, which is n equals to 0, while n is less than or equals to 3. Print of n, we can also write n plus equals to 1 instead of n equals to n plus 1. Whether you type n equals to n plus 1 or n plus equals to 1, it is one thing. The formula is the same. You will get the same output here. But let me use n plus equals to 1 this time. When you run it, you will get the same output 0, 1, 2, 3. It is the counter formula, forward counter formula, not backward, forward counter formula. Example number 2. I equals to 1 while I is less than or equals to 7. Put the colons and then press the enter button. Your new line will start here. Print of I and then add the counter formula, which is I equals to I plus 1. You will get this output 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Look, this time I give the variable name I. You can put I, you can put n, you can put a, you can put x, y, z, whatever you want. It is just the name of the variable. It is the identifier. It is the placeholder where it keeps the information one in the memory. It is just the name. You can give any name, but make sure whatever thing you put here for the variable, you have to put it here and then also for the print function. You cannot put I here and then n here and n here. You have to put the same name all the way at 3 places, here, here, and here. So we have while I is less than or equals to 7, equals to 7. Then take the print of I and also put the counter formula. I equals to I plus 1. Here the while loop will execute multiple times. Initially I has been set to 1. So first it will start with a 1. Then the while loop will be executed. So we will have 1 plus 1. So 1 plus 1 will be 2. Then it will execute one more time. So 1 will be added to the previous value. What was the previous value? The previous value was 2. So it will be 2 plus 1. 2 plus 1 equals to 3. Then the while loop will execute one more time where the 1 will be added to the previous value. The previous value was 3 this time. So 3 plus 1 will be 4. Then we'll execute one more time where 1 will be added to the previous value. The previous value is 4 this time. So 4 plus 1 will be 5. Then we'll execute one more time to add 1 to the previous value. The previous value was 5, so 5 plus 1 will be 6. Then we'll execute one more time to add 1 to the previous value. Look, I is this value. So the previous value was 6, so 6 plus 1 will be 7. There we got the output. Look, the condition says that I is less than 7, or equals to 7. Less than 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, less than 7. But at the same time equals to 7, equals to 7. Don't forget, you have to put 7. You have to include 7 here. If you remove equal sign here and you simply put I is less than 7, then your answer will be up to 6. 7 will not be included. But since we have equal sign here, so the condition says that I is less than and also is less than or equals to 7. There we got the output. But make sure this time it starts with a 1, not with a 0. If you remember last time we had n equals to 0. So initial condition was set to 0. This time it has been set to 1. So it will start from the 1 and then the while loop will execute. We'll add 1 to the 1 to become 2 and then we'll execute again to add 1 to the 2 to become 3 and then we'll execute one more time to add 1 to the 3 to become 4 and then we'll execute one more time to add 1 to the 4 to become 5 and then execute again to add 1 to the 5 to become 6 and then we'll execute one more time to add 1 to the 6 to become 7. So this will be the output after the execution of the while loop multiple times. It is the forward counter while loop. It is the forward counter while loop. It is going forward like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It is in ascending order, not in descending order.